Hi, this is Becky Nunn of Nunn Design, and I'm a guest designer today for Beadaholique. And we're going to be doing this great project using the transfer sheets and UV resin to create fun charms that you can put on bangle bracelets or just about anywhere you can think that you'd like to adorn. For this project, what you will need are a 1.8 millimeter hole punch. This is going to be for punching a hole into the metals wherever we'd like to have it positioned. A pair of scissors. I use a lighter like this just so that I can get any bubbles that might occur when I use the gel de Soleil. If you have matches, that's great too. Gel de Soleil, which is a single part UV resin. I have a head pin. I have a Q-tip. I have a couple of findings of Nunn Design, our crest tag, and a jump ring. I have a paper towel, a dish of water, transfer sheets, and a little card that I can transfer the project to the UV lamp very easily with. And then I also have a UV lamp. The first step is going to involve putting a hole into the crest tag. One of the reasons that we designed these crest tags is without a hole is we had a lot of requests from people who were metal stamping. They wanted to be able to add their holes wherever they'd like them to be. So whether they're over on the side, making it a connector, in the middle, or on the bottom, so they can link them together, it just allows you to have a lot more freedom. So the first step is to punch the hole, and at first I just go in and look for where that center mark is going to be. And I'm not pressing down firmly, I'm just pressing down very, very slightly, and that is just to give me a little imprint of where the real hole is going to be. I often have challenges with the part of the punch ringing around my hole, creating a ring. So I use a little business card to create a little bit of a barrier between that metal part and my metal. So once I have that impression, I can then go back in, line it up, and then press. And now I have a hole into the metal. If you have a little bit of a burr, you can go ahead and just punch it again until you have a nice clean hole. So the next step will be selecting a word that you would like to use, or maybe even one of the designs from the transfer sheet. The Nunn Design transfer sheets have the instructions written on the back for step-by-step of how to do it. The transfer sheets are printed on a film front and it has a paper back. I've already trimmed out the word art and I've double checked to make sure that it'll fit nicely on my tag. When I drop the transfer sheet into a small bowl of water, it'll have about 30 seconds or maybe less before the film starts to separate from the paper back. On a larger piece, it would curl up like a little potato chip, and then it'll start to flatten back down. And when you see it start to flatten back down, you know that your film front is pretty much separated from your back. So it's been about 30 seconds, and I just go ahead and reach in and see how we're doing here. And if you can see that, you can see that the film is separating from the paper back. I usually always have a paper towel right when I'm getting done with that because I'm just wiping off that excess water that's on my fingers from reaching in. And you're going to want to keep that paper backing on just to protect it from getting your fingerprints. And then you're just going to slide it on to your metal and slide away that paper back. You don't need to be too worried about it being just in the right position because you can move it around just slightly. This film is incredibly fragile, so you want to be very gentle with it when you're moving it around. So now that I have the word art onto my piece, I'll put it down onto the flat surface. And with my Q-tip, I'll start by pressing very firmly in the center and just kind of burnishing it down. I'm kind of patting it and burnishing it because this is a very small little piece and I don't want to rip the paper at all or the film at all. In the next step, we'll be pouring the Gel de Soleil onto the flat tag. And the Gel de Soleil is a single curing resin, so it will cure when it's exposed to sunlight, or it will cure when you expose it to UV light, and we have a UV light here. If you didn't have a UV light and you lived in a sunny area, you could put it on your windowsill with a little glass dish similar to our water dish over it to prevent it from getting any dust, and it will cure directly in the sunlight. So I usually take the Gel de Soleil and I pop off the top with a pair of needle nose pliers. I do this because I often get bubbles when I squeeze it out, so I just like to pop that top off. I'm also working with a head pin because I'm going to be moving the resin around, and I also have a little card that I'm doing this on, so it'll make it super easy for me to transport it from when I'm done with it into the UV lamp. So I'm just going to take a small tiny couple of drops and just put it right onto the surface. And the UV is a self-doming resin, so it will want to know where the sides are, but then it'll start to wick itself back up and pool into the center as you're seeing it there. In this case, we're just going to scooch it over to the sides where that black line is. And I'm using the end of my head pin to do so. When I get up to the top part where that hole punch is, I'm just going to use my head pin to manipulate around that hole and not fill the hole. If I saw any kind of bubbles inside the resin, I could use my lighter that I talked about earlier and just gently light it and place it over, not touching, but just over the top of it, and it'll make the air expand and the bubbles will pop. Then I'll go ahead and turn on my UV light and gently place it into the UV lamp. The UV takes about 20 minutes for it to cure fully. And so after 20 minutes, you can take your piece out and gently touch it on the side edges to see if it's still sticky. If it's sticky in any way, it is not cured, and you want to put it back for more exposure. This piece is completely done. Doesn't that look cool? For the final step, we're going to use two pairs of pliers to attach a jump ring and then to attach it onto our bangle bracelets to give it even more jing factor. And there you go, adding yet another fabulous charm onto our bracelet. This is Becky Nunn. I hope you've been very inspired and feel safe and confident to use UV resin on our flat tags.